everybody, welcome to this Thursday show. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. We are on the Frontline Gaming Network. I'm joined this evening by Adam Camilleri.
Hello, everybody. Sweet Jesus, Pete.
And special guest, Peter the Falcon Colissimo. Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys.
Why is Pete here, Paul?
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Hi. How's it going?
Oh, seriously, welcome to the show, and you are filling in for Alan. Alan is a new dad, and so he's taking some time off. Yeah, that is absolutely amazing, and we wish him the best to him and the family. We certainly understand taking a little R&R with that type of event.
Yeah, man, all the best to Alan and his family. Just had a beautiful baby girl. Absolutely wish him all the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we can't take a break, though, because we got to talk about the Lone Star Open happening this weekend. We have some folks, I don't know if you can see on the screen right now, but that is live from the event hall. And look, I know we had a mishap with a teleprompter last week.
There was no mishap.
In the notes,
there was no mishap.
There are 1,900 people there, but it's 100. It's going to be 190 players this weekend, which is an absolute stellar event, and we're keen to talk about it and then see how, if the meta changes, how it develops, what is the outcome of this event. We don't want to jump the gun on that. We got to talk about who's going into this event, what list they're playing, and then we're gonna make some calls on what we think is going to do well.
Yeah, this thing's going to be a really big testing ground for the meta moving forward. I think it's going to be no surprises that the three big hitters going to be here. What we expect to see will be Drukhari, Admech, Sisters, and want to see the impacts that they have. But this is 9 rounds with like a really strong field. And so a lot of these players are going to play each other. A lot of these top players playing these top factions are going to play each other, and are going to play these factions again and again and again. So I will get a really good snapshot of how the lay of the land's looking past this. But Pete, what do you think going into this thing?
What do I think? Be more specific. None of these leading questions, Adam. What do you want me to say?
You can't be self-directive. What do you think about this meta? Are you excited to see what happens here, or are you down in the dumps?
Not excited at all.
Well, let's talk about the factions that are there. Let's do it. Let's get a breakdown of what we were going to see there. Because look, this is one of the events we're going to see good terrain. We're going to see great players. We're going to see people that know the missions. We're going to see actual play out of this. I think it's going to come down less about the list itself, more about the pilots, and then when they encounter each other through the field, through the rounds. I think that's going to be really exciting to pay attention to. And I don't think, we're not going to have to wait until day 2 to see stellar knockdown, drag out matches. That's going to be happening day 1. Could be as quickly as round 2. But what's the faction breakdown, Adam? What do we got there?
So I do want to point out and give Pete the chance to have a little rant if you'd like. But from what I could see, about 60 players at the event, 60 listed, signed up players, not checked in players. Some of them have not registered what faction or what they're bringing. They haven't listed it. So keep that in mind, a grain of salt with the breakdown I give you. 7 Admech, 14 Necrons, 11 Drukhari, 13 Death Guard, 6 Custodes, 1 Orc. Single Warboy, what a champion. I've got his list down below to talk about as well. There could be more, but someone just didn't write it down or didn't list it.
There is more. There's definitely more. Ben Jurek's there, and he's got orcs as well. There you go. It's happening.
Well, Ben, why didn't you list it? We've got 12 sisters as well, 3 tower, 6 guard, 7 combined knights, as in renegade and imperial, and 31 total marines. But Pete, go.
I think the big shock here is the lack of Admech, because I went through the lists that had been uploaded but didn't have anything labeled. Very few are Admech, so your number isn't going to be very far off. And not a lot of the big Admech players are here this weekend that we've seen kind of playing around the U.S. Ben Sherwin, who's been kind of doing really well in the Midwest. Mark Hartel, I don't see either of those names here. Guys that have already started pulling out wins. Last week, I think 4 of the 5 events last week were won by Admech, and none of those guys are showing up. The big name bringing Admech is Colin McDade, who has been playing Harlequins and mixed Harlequins basically since the edition started. So him flipping to Admech, I think, is a big sign, and he's a man that I would watch at this event. He's on home turf, which is always going to be an advantage when you know the layout of the land. He's an excellent player.
Not having to travel very far, if that's what you mean. That's actually a bit of a, could play on the fatigue, could play on the endurance of something going into this event with this many rounds.
It's a non-router, for sure.
It can play a factor.
He doesn't have to stay in a hotel. Well, maybe he does. I don't know. But regardless, it's not a long trip. And he is an excellent player that always puts up results, playing arguably, statistically by far the best faction of the game right now. We'll have to see if he's had enough reps with it to play it to its full potential. But he's definitely someone to watch. Yeah, that lack of AdMech is, I think, the big surprising thing, because prior to this, they've already jumped up to being 8-9% of the meta, 10% of the meta. They're making up 30% of lists that are making it to that top table now.
Exactly right, mate. We've even tracked
that many.
We've even tracked it on this. We saw this kind of little bubbling away of AdMech on the first even the first 3 or 4 weeks of their codex release. They were still sitting at one of the minor, even the least represented factions going into some of these things. And Paul even made a remark and pointed out, this is the first time we've seen AdMech be the most numerous, apart from combined Astartes, be the most numerous at events. But this is well off par. This is well off the run here. We're talking about 14 Necrons, 13 Death Guard, 12 Sisters. Sisters almost doubling, Necrons actually doubling the representation of essentially the best faction in the game. Really interesting talking point. If Paul, you want to hit on it as well.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the breakdown of attendees are for people that are local to the area. If this is just more of a representation of what they see in their local area that's made its way onto the tabletops here, which is always going to be a factor when you're traveling. But then you got the folks that they're coming into it is they already know that. They know the same things that we know about what's represented, what's making it, what's doing well, and then some of these players have the savvy to figure out how to beat it, and so that could also have an influence. Do you think that is why we might have seen more Necrons, why we might see more Death Guard, is because of something like this?
Well, I do know this. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Adam.
So it'll certainly when we talk about we're lucky enough to have a decent proportion of the top 20 in representation here. Almost a quarter of the top 20 players in the ITC are represented at this event. We're going to break down all their lists, and the first cab off the rack, Mr. Sean Naden, is Mr. Counter Meta for this edition. For the way he's been playing so far, he is the guy who counters the meta hardest. So we're definitely going to have something to unpack there. Sorry, Pete, you go.
No, I was just going to say, when it comes to talking about local metas, when you look at Texan results over the last few months, Death Guard and Necrons, huge portions of that population. There's a couple Death Guard players not even here from the Texas meta that have performed very well. I was hoping to see Joni. Forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong, Joni Velazquez, who's won a couple GTs with Death Guard already from the Texas meta. So we do see a lot of Death Guard, we do see a lot of Necrons from this area, but so that doesn't shock me. Necrons are extremely popular, across the board. Maybe not pulling out the results that we love to see for how popular the army is, but it's really good to see them there. Sisters being as many as they are, I think, is very intriguing to me.
Yeah, me too.
And you were talking about Sean Naden, number 1, bringing one of his patented Eldari soup trickster combinations. We'll talk about John Lennon, number 2 in the ITC, bringing sisters.
Man, and he told me, I talked to him recently, and he said, "Look, after he had his ass handed to him a lot in the stream house by Mr. Siegel, he was like, man, I can't see any way I don't end up having to take AdMech to a couple of events at least to keep maintain. He stays in the hunt for those top scores and that podium finish he wants at the end of the season. But him taking sisters is absolutely is an extremely good talking point. I assumed he was taking AdMech literally until I clicked on his list, and I was like, wow, I'm actually happy to see he didn't, and I want to talk about why.
Well, I think that the Necrons, maybe people are just trying to find that kind of magic sauce or whatever, that combination of things that has the enough endurance to last and get where they want to be. And I was actually talking with some buddies recently too, is that, the Necrons can play a game where you have to come to them, or they just can sit over there and kind of rack up points on their side of the table. And some of these field armies that we're talking about, like AdMech, are not necessarily designed to go and do that. So maybe it's kind of the irresistible force meets the immovable object type situation, and maybe the Necrons have enough endurance to hold out on top of that.
There's a couple new unique Necron builds that are starting to show up that do have play at least into Drukhari. We'd have to see how they do into AdMech. The Arcing lot, which is going full Tesseract Arc, etc., or Doomsday Arc, and just relying on
It's relying on quantum to get you past all the dark.
Exactly, that's what I was trying to say. Right, and then you've got Warriors. I'm still on the menu, although they've gotten rid of the Silent King. They're just like, who needs that guy? That's another 40 Warriors I can take.
He seems like a big point sink right now. Like whereas before, I think he was had a lot of play because of the force multiplier that he was, but now he's just like, you know what, we're going to burn that thing down.
Yeah, we're going to take so we get rid of him. We take a reanimator. We just say, I'm going to take as many dudes as I can and hope I can survive. And we're seeing it play out, like winning the mission. Just saying, like, you're going to table me on turn 5, probably, but by then I'll have scored so many points it doesn't matter. So it's really intriguing to see how these Necron players do. I'm excited to see it. What's next on the menu? What do we got going on?
Actually, let me pick on that for just a bit. Is that, I mentioned the Silent King no longer necessarily being the optimal choice because he can be reduced to ashes a little bit more quicker than he used to be. Are you seeing that play out with other large models? I mean, I haven't seen Mortarion effectively on the table in a long time, and possibly other things as well.
Yeah, Mortarion's win rate tanked as soon as he lost the ability to be warp times. He was already kind of doing minimally well in mono Death Guard builds, but mixed, he had a really good win rate.
Yeah,
like nothing absolutely broken, but he was definitely pulling it. We've seen a couple players manage to get to 4-1 with Mortarion builds. It'll be interesting to see if anybody can kind of work out the special sauce to make that function.
You see this a lot with big stuff like Mortarions and Magnus and stuff. They either come in as a sole build, a build around, like Silent King is a build around unit because he's like a quarter of your points. But then when that start losing power, they get into the gatekeeper role, and they usually get propped up by things like warp time, external influences chucked on them to make them do something dynamic to keep them relevant. And now with Mortarion not having the warp time anymore, he's just a big point sink now. And the game needs a lot more bodies on the board. Needs a lot more MSU to stay in contention against things like Sisters, Admech, Drakari, and having so many points in one model that can only kill one, maybe two things a turn. It's just not worth it.
I like what you said there with the fact that they get into that. What we mean by the gatekeeper role is that they filter down to the middle tables to where someone that's going on a run that could possibly propel them into a podium finish, a third, fourth place playing for a title of some kind. They're there to stop it. They become the gatekeeper for the first 1, 2, 3 finish. And then but the game has gotten so killy, I think, that they're even struggling in that capacity.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Let's talk about some of the players we have in attendance here. Just reeling off from the top 4 players in the rankings we have, and all these 4 gentlemen are all in the top 20. We have Mr. Sean Naden as our first place player in the world in the ITC right now, playing Eldari. We'll get to his review in a moment. Then we have Mr. John Lennon in second. We're actually really excited to see both first and second slots represented at this event. If either of them go undefeated, like in this absolute gauntlet of a 9-rounder, be very impressed. But naturally money will be on one of those two to come out on top. Then we have Texas's own Colin McDade, the man that Pete said with the home field advantage. He's in our 8th slot in the rankings, playing Admech. I think I coined him as having the fat-free Admech build. The single battalion build is the kind of one he's zoned in on. We'll break that down as well. And then we've got Junior Fleehey as our 15th spot in the rankings, playing Blood Angels. And Paul Eyes just went bang. Let's talk about that too. But you guys are ready to talk about Naden's? I'll break it down for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Give it to me.
Starts off with a spearhead is custom craft world, expert crafters, and masterful shots. He has an Autarch Skyrunner with a laser lance, a Farseer Skyrunner with Guide Doom and Shining Spear, of course. 8 Shadow Spectres, 5 Shadow Spectres. I think it's 4 Shining Spears with an Exarch with a Star Lance, and Expert Hunter as the Exarch power. 5 Swooping Hawks. 3 Dark Reapers with long-ranged fire with a Tempest Launcher on the Exarch, which is a shift for him. We'll talk about as well. He's got 3 of those of exactly the same with a Tempest Launcher on each. And then he has 3 Shadow Weaver support batteries and a Night Spinner to round out that detachment. So that was a spearhead, as I just said. Then there's a patrol. This one is Soaring Spite, Serpent's Blood, of course. He has a Troop Master, Choreographer of War, Darkness's Bite with a Fusion Pistol, Harlequin's Blade, Sky Strider, and his pivotal role with the Twilight Fang. Then he's got 2 units of troop with Harlequin's Embraces and some Caresses on each one, a single Death Jester with the Domino Shroud and Humbling Cruelty, 2 Star Weavers. That's the list. That is very intriguing. Anybody got any hot takes?
Well, I like the inclusion of the Shadow Spectres. It gives them a little bit of deployment shenanigans. It allows them they have a decent amount of shots that they can pump out, and they're a unit that not everyone's familiar with because they come from the Forgel book.
Very, very true. Paul, Peter, you able to tell everybody what expert crafters and masterful shots may be?
Expert crafters is the... Oh, no. Man, I just drove 10 hours, and I'm having the hardest time.
It's the one reroll to hit, one reroll to wound.
One reroll to hit, one reroll to wound. So these guys are, rerolling to hit, rerolling to wound, and ignoring cover saves. So this is definitely quite the damage-dealing list. Sean's brought his favorite thing, which is something that has the decent chance of killing something out of line of sight in these Shadow Weavers. And the Dark Reapers. That combo there is perfect for dealing with small MSU units trying to hide behind walls, etc. Yep. Especially, and we're going to probably talk about this more than once, at this event where it's player-placed terrain in your own deployment zone. Still, this helps so much with that. And then you have this Harlequin's detachment that is so fast. It is very good in close combat. It's going to tie up those things that are going to get at his beautiful shooty units. Keep them all balled together. This is just typical Sean Naden stuff. He just dropped his Drukhari for Harlequins is essentially what I'm seeing here.
Exactly right. And so I believe he has done that because of the meta shift to target Drukhari. He's avoided taking Raiders, he's avoided taking Incubi, he's avoided taking the known quantities people are expecting, and he's gone back to the jank tank, old reliable stuff that he knows he can get mileage out of rather than walking into counters. And he always wants to stay on the fringe. That's why he's been so successful for so long. He stays on the fringe of the meta and takes the things that can do the same as what the good stuff does, but does some janky other stuff where it's not quite as efficient.
There's a few advocates in the chat predicting that will be the winner. This list will be the winner of the event.
With player-placed terrain. Yeah. So this is one thing I just didn't think of until right now, because are Tempest launchers blast, guys?
I'll tell you in a second. I can't remember. Yeah,
can someone please look that up for me, because that changes this list right now. Because this is possibly, barring two payload metacores, this is the best no line of sight shooting combination you can kind of have in the game at the moment.
Tempest launcher heavy 2d6 is blast. Yes.
So he gets 12 shots per Tempest launcher versus your 20-man Skitarii units. 12 shots per that ignore cover and they get a free roll to hit, free roll to wound. That's legit value. You cannot put a price on that in this meta. Mwah, Sean. Well done.
Yep. And Night Spinner, Shadow Weavers, no AP, but on 6s, -4. That's huge against so many things. So fishing for those 6s, even then against so many other armies, you're witches and stuff, you're just picking them up if your opponent tries to hide them. This really does work. And then all those fusion pistols and those troops, you're going to be popping Raiders before you get to eat the stuff inside. This is a very well-tailored list, as we've come to expect from Sean. I don't know anybody that looks at a Sean Naden list and says, I don't know what this... Well, a lot of people don't know what it does, but it's because you have to know how to put it all together.
Exactly right.
There are so many tools in this for every possible situation. So it's beautiful.
But
love it.
See, the thing is, apart from the no line of sight shooting things, he's essentially only got one-offs for all the roles. He's got a big shooting castle, and none of it's very mobile. The Tempest launchers can be a bit mobile. You tuck a couple in reserve if you want, deep strike them down if you want. But apart from that, he's got those little pinch hitting things to play defense around, like the Shadow Spectres, like the single unit of Shining Spears, like the single beefy Troop Master. As they've all got very unique different profiles on them for different jobs. Yep. I think it's very clever. You get Auspex scan, don't you, for the Shadow Spectres, which is what I think they're for. I think they are there to deter sisters from slinging units in, so you can't just shove Repentia down his throat. Hey, you're going to get auto-dead from the Shadow Spectres on the Overwatch. And the same thing for things like AdMech doing the Lucius redeploy, doing the Infiltrator redeploy, really zone you out, stop you doing your scramblers, stop you getting up in his face. Really clever pick.
Yep, I really like it.
Yeah, you got a lot of tools. I agree with everything you just said. We'll see. What's the next list?
All right, jumping down, we have Mr. John Lennon's Playing Sisters, guys.
And in this episode, if you're just joining us, we are talking about the LSO, the Lone Star Open Frontline Gaming. That's going to be the focus of this show.
Yeah. Any other events that are happening this weekend? They're bad. Don't pay attention to them.
Well, so I actually looked around, and there's a bunch of GT level events. There's a bunch of 30, 35 player events going on. But if there was another 60, 70 player event or something, we would have talked about it. We would have mentioned it. But because there's such a gap, this is a big flagship 9-rounder. We got to give it the time of day, especially when it's so stacked. Mr. John Lennon's up next. He's playing Sisters. It has a patrol detachment, Order of the Bloody Rose, Repentia Superior, and the No Force Org slot. Morven Vile, who's his warlord, of course, he has to be. Battle Sisters, Bare Bones.
That's a good choice anyway, though.
Yeah, well, can't go wrong with those. She's amazing value. 2 units of 8 Repentia, 2 units of 5 Zephyrum. Then it goes into an Outrider. This one is Ebon Chalice. He's got Celestine with her Gemini, of course. A unit of, I think it's 9 Sacrosants with the Halberds. A Dogmata. 2 units of Dominions, all with the Artificer Stormbolters, those beautiful Strength 5 Stormbolters. Damage 2 Stormbolters. 2 units of Seraphim, each one of these with 2 Hand Flamers a pop. A unit of Retributors, 2 units of Retributors rather, each one with 2 Multi-Melters, 2 Flamers, 2 Cherubs, and then 2 Rhinos, and get this, a Battle Sanctum. Yep. Player placed terrain, guys.
Yes.
Sorry, Pete. You want to unpack that a little bit more? What this thing does, what it adds, why it's good?
I mean, the Battle Sanctum is like the perfect piece of extra terrain that you can just pay 80 points to get, right? Like, no matter any other things it does for you.
With an upside. It has effects too, right? Yeah.
Exactly. But it's like, it is your piece of cover that is beautifully formed in every way, shape, and form. You can't play it at most events because of the fortification rule where you cannot deploy within 3 inches of any other piece of terrain. So you're gambling if you do it anywhere else. Here at the Lone Star Open, because they've ruled that it's going to be player placed terrain, you can free up that spot and you'd be like, "This is where my Battle Sanctum is going to go. I'm going to put some crazy ass stuff in it, and you're just not going to be able to deal with it because of all the bonuses they're going to get from it." And really, the big thing is the cover / not really obscuring, but obscuring, because you can easily hide models in that thing if you wanted to, just because of the way the windows are placed, etc. It's an excellent piece of tech to have in any Sisters list, and the only reason why people haven't been taking it is because it's a coin flip on any table as to where you're going to even be able to place it, if you can place it at all.
Exactly right.
It's big, by the way. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but it's a sizable piece of terrain. When you have the ability to know that you're going to get value out of that for 9 games, it's 80 points. It could be the game winner. That could be your AVP.
You want to hear something funny? Sean Naden's list would pay 160 for this thing.
Oh yeah.
We would bend over backwards to be able to have a premium 3-tier
3 units of Dark Reapers and something like that.
Dude, you could. All 3 your Weavers platforms go behind, and then it's beautiful. It would be beautiful for him. But this thing is premium. John's well on the money with this list.
I like the halberds on the Sacrosants. That's another choice that I think people can get lured in by the damage too of the mace of the Sacrosants, but the halberd I think is going to give you pound for pound better performance every time.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that call as well, because Repentia already have that damage 2 profile with better rend. And so why double down? Why not take the essentially the power sword variant, the high strength with the high rend, rather than going for the damage as well? So yeah, 100%, man, agree.
You get more wounds through, and that damage 1 will accumulate. But actually, let's talk about that. Is that the Repentia and the Zephyrum? Those are yesterday's news. What are they doing in this list?
Well, they're still good. They still chop your absolute face off. And the thing is that I like min squads of Zephyrum now. I used to see a lot of 7, 8, 9 mans, sometimes even 10 mans, because you could put enough buffs on them they could go through anything. But as just a 5-man, as a harassing small counter charge unit, I think they're phenomenally good, phenomenally efficient for 90 points, because there is still enough relevant buffs on there that you can punch up. You punch up. You're not going to punch up to the moon and kill somebody's Death Star with a 10-man anymore. But a 5-man still goes into 5 infiltrators and absolutely smashes them to bits, still goes into those pick your Skatara unit, still goes into them, smashes them to bits. Same as the Repentia. So the Repentia, there are a lot of Cerberus Raiders around. There are a lot of Infiltrators, Rust Stalkers around. Those Repentia go into them, hit them on 4s re-rolling, wound them on 2s.
Take down Iron Striders. Because
absolutely,
strength
6. Yep. They've got the perfect profile for the meta. Their delivery methods just aren't as good right now.
Yeah, and so John just got rid of the delivery method. He's not bringing rhinos that they can go in, right? He's bringing his rhinos for his dominions.
Yeah,
and now he's just got that Repentia Superior, and he's saying, "I'm going to advance and charge these babies this way." And once again, player place terrain helps a lot with this, because he can set up the terrain in such a way that he knows
leapfrog.
Yeah, this is where I can go. Like, I can set up, like you said, a leapfrog scenario where at least one of these Repentia units is going to be alive. Like, unless he's going into something like Naden's list where it's got so much out of line of sight fire. But this is like really key strategery here. And like you said, the Zephyrum units, so excellent at picking off side. They're so fast. They can just hop around. They're very cheap at 90 points. So like it's very easy for them to pick off a backfield objective, or like you said, like 5 infiltrators, what have you, to free up mid space. And then this Ebon Chalice stuff, man. Like he's got his Sacrosanct, that beautiful anvil unit that he can move right to the middle of the board if he needs to. He's got these Dominion squads. Now, you guys will have to help me here. Did FLG rule that you can double Dominion move in a Rhino? Or no?
What do you mean by double?
Yeah, because you definitely get the ability to move with a Dominion in their transport.
Scout it, for sure.
Yeah.
But if you have 2 Dominion units in a Rhino, some places rule you can do it twice because there's nothing that says you can't.
I'd lean on the FLG's probably
I'm going to say no.
That. Yeah, I'm going to go say no.
But John did bring 2 Rhinos. So, I mean, either way. But yes, because there's technically rules as written, you could double move if you have 2 units of Dominions in a Rhino. Really big shenanigan. I'm assuming he's not doing it because he's got 2 Rhinos here, but just something to consider. Then, he's got that. He's got these 2 Retributor squads that are getting maximum energy out of Ebon Chalice, as well as a Seraphim, because that cleansing fire strat that can do up to 3 mortal wounds. Yeah, super money in this meta. And he's definitely making sure he's getting that in. He's getting all those extra 6s from Miracle Dice off of being Ebon Chalice, because he can discard 1 and make it a 6. He's got the double Sacred Rites. Like Ebon Chalice is kind of one of those sleeper orders.
The great lots of bits of tech. It's not straight line powerful, but it's got lots of bits of tech. And if you're a good enough player like John is to activate them all in the same game, you get a hell of a lot of value.
Yeah, to know when to do it. That's the awareness, situational awareness of what you have in your bag of tricks.
Exactly right.
We're running out of time though. What's next?
Okay, so next one, running down. We're just smashing these out. This is Colin McDade. This is the next iteration of what I'm coining as the fat-free AdMech build. Single battalion goodness. Lucius, no messing about. Skitari Marshal, 45 points. Does far too much for 45 points.
But he's the auto-include. You have to take it.
Yeah. Two manipuli with,
Also, okay, business as usual.
Yep. 80, so 40 Rangers, 40 Vanguard in blocks of 20.
Sure.
As you'd expect, no surprises.
As usual.
Omnispecs is everywhere. A couple of guys have been upgraded with stuff. 2 units of Fulgurite Electro Priest, which I think is kind of becoming a little bit of his calling card now. That's not business
as usual. That is a little spicy.
It's Colin McDade's calling card. He's been using this to great effect. This is new to his list. A single unit of 5 Infiltrators, probably to give him ability to activate some more secondaries. 2 units of 3 Ballistari and 1 single unit of 7 Cerberus Raiders, which I thought we saw before that's where he's got the points for the Infiltrators. I thought he had 2 units of 5 or even 3 units of 5. And then 2 Dune Riders to round this out. So just to encapsulate that, 80 infantry, 2 units of las cannon chickens, 2 units of 8 Fulgurites, which most likely go inside the Dune Riders, possibly with character support in there as well to keep the drops down. Not that really matters. And 1 pinch hitting unit of 5 Infiltrators. These ones have power swords and stub carbines. I usually prefer to see the flechettes and the taser goads, which makes me think they're just there for action monkey purposes.
This list is very similar to mine. You saw out a couple of characters. I think we're going to see this. 500 points could go either direction in any AdMech list, but that is a solid core.
Yeah.
I think those three characters and those 80 bodies to make the core of this, that first kind of 1,000 points, is like almost nearly locked in at this point. And then it's just which combination of Ballistari or which combination of counter assault units and which combination of screening units you prefer.
Just killing robots. I'm telling you, I don't know why they're not more out there.
That's your babe. Paul, Pete, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I want to make a snoring noise, but I don't want to offend Colin because, he's a good player.
He's a good dude.
This is a great list. Unfortunately, this is where, like you said, this is like cookie cutter AdMech. He's taking a few more Electro Priests than we're used to seeing. Like a lot of the competitive lists are taking maybe 1 unit of Fulgurites or Corpuscari. He's gone with 2. I don't think there's, like you guys said, there's a good 500 points of flex in any AdMech list. And this AdMech list is so deep anyway. Like you could say there's 1,000 points of flex with no issue. They have enough kind of busted stuff when you apply all the buffs to it. I do love the list. The Cerberus Raiders, they're such a pain in the ass always. Not as bad as they used to be. They're still great at move blocking, still great at sniping a character if you need to, like a cheap Skitari.
That's a good number of ones to have too, because they can actually, if you take just 5 or 4 or something, I think the minimum squad is 3.
Yeah.
You really don't get, you don't have the pressure. You're not actually going to scare somebody to redeploy their character in a way that they don't want to.
So 7 is a nice number.
The math is maybe I might lose that 5 wound character, 4 wound character.
Exactly.
Ballistari are fast attack slots. No, they're heavy supports, aren't they? Are they fast attack or heavy support?
Ballistari are fast.
They look fast to me. They got long legs.
So that's the value assessment for him. He's got the 2 units of 3 Ballistari. He could have 2 units of 3 Raiders and 1 unit of 5 Ballistari, save some more points, maybe get some more infiltrators. But he's made a value assessment that he thinks he's good enough where he is at the game right now that he doesn't need the screens as much, because naturally what's probably going to be screening for him will be, in a real
if you just shoot everything coming at you dead, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly, my man.
And he does have 80 bodies that for a turn can have a 0+ or a 1+ armor save. So I think he's okay. He's okay for screens if he needs it.
And the 2 Dune Riders, which he can leave empty and just chuck them up the front if needs be. They're not that expensive. They're not that pivotal to his game plans. Like,
they have 12 shots. There. I think if you can get that any kind of that volume of fire on that point investment and get that profile, they got a lot going for him. Look, I don't want to spend too much time on the AdMech, but grown if you'd like. But this might be the big bad list. And I said, and people have know it exists, and they've come to take it down. And I want to see how they crack this nut over the course of the weekend. I'll be tuning in and seeing how it happens.
Naden's got the right profiles to do the job. If it's a prolonged shooting war, Naden has the right profiles. If he has the right terrain, to get a hell of a lot of work done here. And the aggressive elements that Colin has aren't things that can push into what Sean is doing. Things that he has like eight Fulgurites without the invuln, maybe even with the invuln, can sometimes go down to just 5 Harlequins with a couple of buffs. So things
everything in that list kills the unit.
Exactly. So it's going to be a really interesting game, a couple of games. Same goes for John. John's got a great game into AdMech for a lot of reasons, especially knowing that he's going to have one of the best possible terrain pieces in his deployment zone every single freaking game. Knowing that he's not going to get dunked on. He's not going to get his army shot to absolute hell if he goes second. So yeah, there's a lot to be said here, but let's move on because we got Paul's favorite to talk about. We have a Blood Angels list.
What's in that list?
This is Junior Fleehey. He opens up with a patrol detachment. Blood Angels, of course, like I said, 2 company veterans with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields sitting in the No Force Org slot. A captain on bike with Teeth of Terror, who is his warlord, who is also a chapter master with Rights of War. Has an Inferno pistol, probably because he had some points left.
It sounds like a point choice, yep.
Yeah, 5 infiltrators. Then he has a unit of Sangard. He has a 5-man all with swords, which might be interesting. We'll hit it over to Paul in a moment to discuss. A unit of, I believe that is 4 Plasma Inceptors. Yeah, 3. It's 4 Plasma Inceptors. 3. No, it's 240 points. Oh, no, you're right. It's 340 when you got 6. So, 3 Plasma Receptors with Plasma. He's got a Vanguard. He has a Primaris Chappie on bike, what you'd expect there. A Sanguinary Priest, which is Chief Apoth, of course. And then 2 units of 3 Blade Guard, 2 Relic Contemptors with the Volkites, and 2 more Sanguinary Guard units. These ones also 5-mans. These ones have the axes, and to round it out, 1 single unit of Eradicators with heavy melter rifles. He's got a lot of stuff. You sometimes forget how much.
I love this list. So this is dipping into the fact that Blood Angels are still a Codex Marine chapter, and so you know what, he's taking all that Codex Marine stuff that's working really well, and the Blade Guard. The Blade Guard work really well in this type of environment where we know the terrain's good. They can sneak up around there. They've got their heroic intervention abilities, so they can just jump on out of this stuff. They can really use the terrain to their advantage, and I think they're an excellent choice. I think the Dreadnoughts are an excellent choice, and then you've got this heavy punches from the Sanguinary Guard and the company commanders. I'm sorry, and the Chapter Master. And I know we made a joke about the Inferno pistol, but really, that character you're going to have be up in harm's way. They could conceivably find themselves standing right next to something that they can shoot and burn it down and casually kill this thing, and then rock it over to the other side of the table and assault and take something else down. So putting that kind of weapon on that kind of a type of character you'll feel like a genius when it works.
And here's the thing: Blood Angel's biggest weakness right now is cracking vehicles before they can hit them with their sticks, right? Drukhari are a big problem for that. So Junior's gone in and he's added these Relic Contemptors. Probably the worst faction, Marine faction to use Relic Contemptors, but Relic Contemptors are absolutely busted for their points.
They're still good. The fact that you can pick them and put them in the list.
Yeah, so you do it, right? Yeah. Like every other Marine chapter makes them better, but Blood Angels need them because otherwise they're not going to crack a Raider in time. Right. Because the Eradicators, while a great unit, hard to deliver, right? It's in this current meta. So, but also, once again, terrain's going to help with that. If Junior plays the terrain game perfectly, he's got that. The 3 Inceptors, Junior loves the deep strike stuff because he's a crazy person. And I bet he's deep striking those every game. Every game he's popping them right by the captain, so they're re-rolling, blowing away something on the turn they come in. This is a really solid list. I'm very intrigued. I've been playing a lot of Blood Angels right now. The one thing I would love to see him do, which he didn't in this game, is take the unkillable chaplain on bike. That's what I was hoping when I saw the chaplain on bike, that he was going to go that route, because that unit is such a tech piece.
Problem solver, man.
But this is a solid list. This is a solid list. I'm very intrigued to see how it
plays. He's trying to build the tools. Yeah, what he's trying to take is how do I function and win a few games off just my list tech alone. I think is what he's hoping for here. The Eradicators, I think that's really of the entire list. I think that's kind of the awkward choice. But maybe in his testing, he's figured out that he needs just X% more punch, and that's what gives it to him.
Yep. Yeah. I do want to say there's a bit of a I don't want to take credit for this, but a lot of people have talked about Marines, the over and under investment of Marine bodies, and I think Junior's list is now a great proponent of this. Nothing over essentially nothing over 160 points. Not one single unit in his army is over 160 points, barring the Inceptors. The Inceptors are 240. I love that philosophy as well. If you have those big units of Vanguard, those big units of Terminators, you just don't have the board state to win games consistently against all this MSU stuff. We learned that versus Drakari, and it'll be doubled down upon now with Sisters playing essentially a similar style. And then with the AdMech issue, if you ever get forced into a trading war, you lose every time. Every single time. Yeah, cool. I've got 3 Blade Guard on an objective. You have to shoot a minimum of a 190 point unit of Vanguard to take them off. Cool, there were 100 points. Don't care. You would have killed 200 points if I put it on there with that same unit. You could have killed 300 points if I put it on there with that same unit. Yep. Why give them the option? Take all the air out of their sails. Don't let them trade up. I think it's a great perspective to go through. I think this is a perfect breakdown. The only one I would have thought would have been good for this meta and good for them was a unit of Vanguard vets. Even just a 5-man Vanguard vets. I was interesting that he had the double down.
That's actually what I was thinking in my mind of, like, where you trade out the Eradicators. But he does. Yeah. He's kind of I guess proxied them a bit with the company veterans.
To a degree.
Yeah.
But like that squad of Vanguard vets, I mean, I love the 10 with the Mastercrafted Thunderhammer. I think that as your sergeant, that is absolutely brutal. But I mean, even just all Lightning Claw Storm Shield, even taking 5, they do so much work. But like we said, I think he's just looking for another ranged attack for that kind of mid game. Especially in a place, I mean, he's been using these Eradicators all over the place over in California. He's been doing he's probably the only person in the world right now making Blood Angels work to any degree. So you know what? If he's doing it,
he's figured something out. Right. Exactly
you
right.
do it. You do you, Junior. You're a beautiful man. Don't be mad at me for all those times I said that you're in a weak meta.
Oh, snap. Well, we'll see, man.
We got to talk about this.
Don't run away from that, Pete. Predict his win. How many wins, how many losses are you going to take in this event?
Okay.
Junior?
Do it. Junior? Throw it up.
In 9 rounds?
In 9 rounds.
But he does, not everybody plays the 9 rounds, right?
No. Give us 6. Give us out of 6, the first 6.
I think he's going to go 4-2. I think Junior goes 4-2.
Oh, okay. Paul,
he could go 5-1, but I think he's 4-2.
What do you reckon he makes, Paul?
Look, you can't go against. Sometimes the numbers don't lie, and Pete knows the numbers, so I got to back that up.
I'll go 5-1. I'll put him down for a 5-1.
I don't think it's out of the. I don't think if he went 5-1, like I wouldn't go outside and throw up because I'd be so surprised. It's definitely well within his range.
Yeah.
Like he's top tabled so many events, big events, right? Yeah. Junior knows how to play this game. So like nothing is out of the question. He could go 1-5. That would probably make me throw up, but for other reasons. Anyway.
Let's talk about this orc list before we run down the Fuego Rapido.
Yeah, sure. Well, we've got 2 more lists we want to try and run through. We won't give these guys as much time as we did the top lads.
Well, we want to. We're just running out of it. We only have an hour show.
Yeah, well, there's two lists I pulled out just at random. I pulled out an orc list because I seen what I wanted to put some info out there about what orcs are taking right now. And then we'll revisit it in a couple of episodes, and we'll go like, this is what orcs are with the book. This one is by Christian Rice. Big shout out to Christian there. Hope you have a great event, mate. He's playing a battalion. He's got Goths, Big Mech and Mega Armor, Gazgul, freaking Thraka. Why not? For 300 points, he actually looks really good for 300 points in the current meta.
He's never not been good. It's just what you build around him. You know, it's
Yep.
Well, but when you talk about these linchpin units like your Magnuses, your Mortys, your Silent Kings not being worth it because there's so many points at 300, guys is plum.
You can't burn him down though at the same
That's
same
the
rate.
big thing.
Exactly, and he is plumb for the points. 300 for what he brings, amazing. He's got 2 units of 30 boys. A unit of 20 Gretchen, Meganobs, a unit of 3 Meganobs. Sorry, 2 units of 3 Meganobs with kill saws paired up, of course. Then he has a Pain Boy. Then he has a patrol attachment. This one is Evil Sons. He has a Weird Boss with the jump and Warphead with Warpath in addition, of course. A second Weird Boy with the jump because you always double down. And then 2 more 30-man Orc Boys units. These ones being Evil Sons, so I'm guessing they're going for the 8-inch rollables from the Deep Strike to put the pressure on. And another unit of Gretchen.
If you do the jump, you know, that's...
helps you to jump.
This is the whole army. So it's 120 Orc Boys, 4 units of 30 boys, 2 units of small Meganobs, Gaz, and some supporting stuff, some Gretchen and stuff to hold the backfield. Interested they went for such big squads of Gretchen. Is that because Gaz's ability to make them not run? I'm not sure if it affected Grotz.
Not even sure. Not sure that's. I think it's just he wanted more bodies. If they're
a bad exchange, like you were talking about. You don't want to fire your big cannon at them. You don't want to fire your 40 shots or whatever coming or 80 shots coming out of a unit that you want directed towards Gaz to make sure you get his 4 wounds off or anything else. Like you just there's not a good exchange.
Yeah,
with what
that's what I was getting at. I like the number of Grotz he has. I'm surprised they're 20 mans. I would have thought you'd break them down as many 10 mans as you got, so you can spread your influence on objectives. Because you know what Sean Naden's going to love to see 20 Grotz. Two of my Tempest launches gone. Pick them all up. Hit them on.
This is going to be a rough road. This is going to be a rough wog for the Orcs now.
This is a rough meta for this build, I think.
But I like what he took because if a few things go right, then you're able to put a lot of pressure from a jump or something like that coming out of essentially nowhere, surprising folks with that, and then maybe you can position yourself to where you build up a lead on points and then are able to maintain that lead because they're having to fight on your rules, in the early rounds of the game.
Yep. I mean, this is one of the last chances we're going to have for like Green Tide and things like that to work the way they currently do. The Goth Horde did really well early 8th edition or early 9th edition. It's a hard list to play though. So I'm really hoping Christian has been putting in the reps because this is a very hard list to play well. But when it is played well, when you watch a person play a Goth Horde like properly, it is mesmerizing how really well they can control the board. They lose everything by the end of the game, but they win because just like when we were talking about with Necrons, they just win on points.
Yeah.
Anyway. We had a question: is that if Gas starts showing up more, does that mean the Nightbringer should start showing up more?
Because you're going to bring your crap conversions. I don't want to see your crap conversion. Everybody with their crap Nightbringer conversion. Stop it.
Modeling choices aside, are those two units comparable?
So this is where they get different, though. The Nightbringer doesn't buff anybody. Gazgul buffs everybody. He is a force multiplier in addition to being an absolute skull cruncher. The Catan is a skull cruncher. Runs out, he'll kill just about anything in the game, doesn't add you any external benefits to your army. And that's where they differentiate, which I think guys will always be more value. In that comparison, at least in that vacuum. Not saying Nightbringer's bad. That dude is not bad. He costs more points than Gaz, though. Last I remember.
Yep.
Is that correct, guys? He costs more points and does less.
320, 360 or something.
It does less for your army than Gaz. May kill better than Gaz because he has the mortals in addition. But those mortals can be inconsistent, and a lot more people are having saves against mortals as well. I think Gaz wins that comparison hands down. But who knows? That might be a paradigm we start seeing. These unkillable linchpin models might come back in a big way.
370 for the Nightbringer. Again, I just want. I know we were trying to get to the next list, but I wanted to always encourage the chat. Thank you for those comments and questions. And and stuff for getting
70 points more. He doesn't kill that much better than Gaz.
James
Gaz
Workshop. James.
Rough.
James.
Down.
Lower the points on the Nightbringer. Do it today.
Right
James.
Now. Okay. One more list, please. Let me.
Okay, one more. Then we're going right to the Fuego Rapido.
We'll go quick. This is Landon Lyons' patrol rather. He has a single Tempestus Prime here. Then he has 3 units of 10 Scions. 1 with hotshot with 4 hotshot volleys, 2 with 4 plasma guns and a plasma pistol in each. Then he has 3 freaking Valkyries, all with advanced countermeasures and 2 rocket pods, and a las cannon. Sorry. Then he has another patrol. This one also Landon Lyons, another Tempestus Prime, 3 more 10-mans, 2 with melter guns, another one with hotshot volleys, an officer of the fleet, 2 Avenger strike fighters, 2 Taurox Primes with missiles and autocannons. I freaking love this list. Wow. When I pulled this up, I was like, Mr. Brian Pacewalt? Clap for you, my man. Wow. You're a champion. You're a champion.
Lambda Lions are my favorite Scions unit for a lot of reasons. They've got an awesome relic in that refractor field. Their warlord trait's amazing because it's a way to get rerolls. Hotshot volley guns doing mortals and getting the +1 strength, so they're wounding things like nobody else really can. Plasma gun, the extra AP, like they've got everything en masse. Not sure if this is the list I'd play, but you know what? Yeah, it is. It fills a meme part of my heart because
I want to say this list is like mega Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah,
like, it so is.
You know, it looks awesome. It's styled to the lore exactly. It is going to struggle with some of the. See, it's like I just think it's going to struggle with some of the things it's going to face. Yep. And so, gotta hope for an open run. He needs some open field.
I just want this guy to walk in like, khaki cargo shorts, pick up an 80s boombox, hit fly to the Valkyries, deploy his army.
Do it.
Mwah, do it. You're a legend.
Do it. Officer of the fleet. What a guy. Anyway.
What a champ. All right, let's do this.
Yep.
All right, we're going to bring up the Fuego Rapido. I know. Look, production. What's going on?
Get it together.
Look, we actually have production, which is amazing. So
I know we're very privileged, and he's been working his ass off. For those that are following along at home, Richard and Val are both at the LSO, crunching their nuts to get this thing set up for this stream.
I'm starting doing some credits.
Richard is naked from the waist up. You guys can't see him. Covered in sweat right now. Like we can see him behind the scenes right now. He's just. Reese had him lifting tables earlier. Like, he's a machine.
All hands on deck.
He's a beast of burden. Yeah, that's what he is.
He really is.
But yeah,
I don't know if we have an intro for this. So, Pete, I need you to say "Fuego Rapido" in your most alluring intro voice.
Fuego Rapido.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. All right, here we go. So when the clock starts, I'll start us with our first category. Here we go. Will orcs really shake things up? And I think we're talking about the new orcs here. What have people heard about the new orcs? Do you think it's going to make an impact on the tournament scene?
Yes.
Pete, we'll start with you. Okay.
Yes. They're going to wreck so much stuff other than Nadmech. They're so good. It's unbelievable. They have some really bad units though. So you're gonna see a lot of people making some really shitty lists. Pardon my language. Oh. But the good lists, they're so good. I played against somebody running some stuff, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. They're so good.
They will. They're going to shake things up. They're not going to topple Admech, is my gut feeling as well, same as Pete. They are literally going to change the way every other army has to play, though, and may change the way Admech has to play. I think Admech has to take far more aggressive elements. They can't just take 120 rangers. Orcs are just going to run straight through that if you give them a chance, and they're going to trade up into you now, which is good. So I think we're going to see a lot more 5-mans, a lot more 10-mans, those rangers, but I expect the Admech to just pivot straight into MSU and start really doubling down on that Book of Fire stuff that I think is going to put them over the top and keep them on top versus Orcs.
Anything that we can release into the ecosystem that keeps things fresh and evolving. And I think that the orc players, especially with seemingly the volume of units they're going to get, they're going to be trying some new things that are going to change things. So will they? Scary. I think the question is, will they really shake things up? I think the answer is yes. They're going to have both that new codex feel coming to them. So people are not going to necessarily know exactly how to prepare for them. And they are getting just a bevy of different styles is what, at least what it seems.
best thing I can say about is that their strats feel like you need to have a single detachment. They are very liberated in the fact that you can go double, a triple detachment if you want and get a crap load of tech into your list.
You have to, really, I think, because like their war bosses are so strong. The Squigosaur war boss can be basically unkillable, and you can make two of them.
Come back to this. Anyway. We're out of time. Good. If you could delete one faction from the game, why is it always Tau?
Yes.
How did this get in there?
That's my question. Because deleting Tau would literally change nothing for any storyline that had ever affected anything that actually mattered in the fluff. If you deleted Tau, nothing would change.
Oh, I got some theories for you that I would really yeah. Yeah, Paul, Pete, you got a comment?
I'm really sad that it has to be Tau. Get rid of Chaos Space Marines. No one cares. No one cares about Chaos Space Marines anymore. No one has cared about them for 20 years.
What's interesting
if you talk to any Chaos Space Marine player since
Alan is going to watch this.
No one has cared.
Alan is going to watch this back and be furious.
We do have
what? Who is this Alan guy?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never heard of him either. Love
this
you, mate.
Obligatory mention
of
right. Noise Marines, so we have to talk about the Slaanesh Noise Marines.
Paul, if you could delete one faction, Paul.
See, I don't want to delete any of them because
cop out.
I think that I have struggled with this. Like, especially you talk about, some of these factions were created after I started playing 40K. So even though that was, how many years ago did some of these like Tau and Necrons become part of the tapestry of 40K? They're still new to me. And if you were to ask me, like, oh, they're just whatever. They're the Johnny come lately of factions. But even though they've existed for 3 decades, 2.5 decades, or whatever.
Jellypox.
Yeah.
Get rid of Gellerpox. Get rid of them.
Yeah.
No, squats have to come. They're coming.
Richard, our producer just said squats, and me and Pete were just like outraged. No, shut up.
2022 squats are coming. Be aware.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Those are some amazing models. All right. So make a good cost. They're being a good guy in 40K. Yeah.
Yep. Make a case for it.
Make a case. Pete, we'll start with you on this one.
A good guy faction or just a singular person?
Yeah. Make a case for there being a good guy. Is there a good guy in 40K?
I don't think there should be. I think that everybody needs to be a little bit bad. And then there just needs to be good elements within it. Like, that's just how the world works, guys. Like, come on. This isn't some Disney Channel fiesta we got going on here. I don't think there should be any faction that's fully good. We saw it with Tau when Tau got released way back in the Middle Ages when Paul was just hitting his stride, bought his first car back in the 1400s. Like Tau were the good guy faction. There was nothing bad about them, and everybody hated it because they were just too goody. And so then they were like, well, maybe they got pheromones, guys. And then everyone's like, yeah, there we go. Pheromones. Screw you, Tau. Farsight. This guy's good, though. Everybody else is bad.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Host protocol here and jump in, because what I think the Grim Dark being what it is that the machines that make everything happen, that can't be done all pristine and without a little bit of bad wrapped in there. But that's some of what makes these pockets of heroism that we see from some of these characters and the lore and stuff so freaking amazing.
Yes.
I'm going to make the case for two factions. Not because they're good, but they stay true to themselves. Tyrannies and Orcs. They're only bad by our definition of bad. They're just doing what they do. They're just going about their business, enjoying their life to the best of their ability. Who are we to say that's wrong, guys? Who are we to say that's evil?
I'd say Tyranids probably are the most pure.
I don't know.
Absolutely. No, because remember, in the recent Blood Angels lore, they've added some stuff that makes it seem like maybe not. The Tyranids aren't.
But we'll have to come back to that one, too.
Orcs definitely.
Orcs are the true good guys,
Yes,
man.
I'll give you that. Orcs are the good guys of 40K. Continue.
Bam.
So how many highlight layers is too many? This is a rough question.
Yeah.
4. This is a rough question. I will say, when I'm watching tutorials and they get to like that 4th step, I'm like, we're the same color, guys. We just going with the top coat.
Yeah. I don't know what you guys are doing. I'm matte spraying this. I'm going home.
I know that my top coat is what is it? The Wasdocker red or whatever, and that's
same.
We're going to get there, and I don't know if we need all this depth that you've got there.
I find it depends on the model. I find 3 sometimes too many. I find like I'm painting Cadian infantry, yeah. Sometimes 1's too many, right?
I think black is the only one where you really need to go like a million layers.
You need to for black. You need to. If you're
We've lost our clock on this one, so we could just talk forever.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
So your Mephiston, Paul. This would be a good example. How many highlights on his armor?
So that's a little bit of a different story with characters. You definitely.
That's why I wanted to use that as an example.
Yeah. So I think that you try your best to not make your edge highlight super chunky, but if we're talking about layers, getting that bright red actually does take several very thin layers of it. Yep. So after you get your base coat of Mephiston red on Mephiston, although Mephiston is actually based primarily in corn red, I don't know if that's some subtle stuff or not, but it actually is corn red. But for his armor, that is Mephiston red. And then to get the red that you want, I like a very bright red. I like it to look almost angry and really be visible from several feet away off the table. And sometimes you need 4, 6, 7 layers of that red before you even go to the edge highlight. But it's real thin. Yeah,
you need to be able to like wipe your finger across it and leave a smudge. That's how thick it needs to be.
Is real thin layers to get that red that you want. So 7 is too many. 4 is probably just enough. Rank and file 2.
All right, let's move on.
All right. So which chaos god would you offer your soul to in exchange for demonhood? Adam?
Oh, Slaanesh. Obvious reasons. I'm a man of pleasures. All right.
I couldn't do it.
I like my comforts. I like my comforts. I like what I like.
I hate the feeling of chaps on my body. I wouldn't be able to do Slaanesh. Not even for a second.
Right. Do you have one that makes you? Do you have one that makes you question?
I mean, if I had to, like, if you were like, you got to do it, man, it would probably like. There's the cheap out answer, and you say something like Malal, and you're like, yeah, now I'm super edgy and cool.
That's what I was gonna
90s.
Dude, I wrote that question down. I'm like, I'm gonna say Malal like a freaking hipster snowflake.
Super grog. Like nobody.
Well, what if that is my answer?
Grognard
what if it is my actual heart answer?
But like Malal's super cool because he's the chaos god that hates chaos.
He's got a Anarchy, man.
Yeah. Or if I had to choose from like the normal ones, it'd be Tzeentch because secrets and brains and stuff. I guess the end. Like that's the other ones don't appeal to me.
Is that because you're an analytical dude? You want to understand stuff and like see
No, I'm
more?
just a really good liar and I want to get better at it, I think.
Sick. Deception.
Yeah, fair
enough.
Right?
I have to say Nurgle, although I hate what it would do to this whole situation.
Don't ruin that face.
Nah, man.
but Nurgle's where it's at. I think Nurgle plays the long game. Can beat Tzeentch any day of the week.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
It definitely stomps the other two.
Love it.
All right, so we close it out and we go to the next topic.
Yeah.
How do you paint eyes? I actually got some sage advice from a great painter. Actually, this is one of the. I asked Duncan Rhodes, "How do you paint eyes?" He says, "Don't." Obviously, he was talking about just the rank file type troops and stuff, and it was because we do on the FTN show we do a segment called finishing moves, and that's what the whole thing was like. I thought eyes teaching somebody how to play eyes or paint eyes would be a great little tip to things, and he's like, just don't do it on everyone because it's really easy to make them all kind of googly eyed. But I think I think you do paint. You should paint eyes on the characters you want the most attention to, or sometimes to test yourself. When you're doing these things, hobby is a personal challenge, and I think that you try to do that. You elevate your own painting one model at a time, and when you're sitting there at your own hobby desk, no one has to see it. You can paint the eyes. One could be going that way, one could be going the other way, and then you paint over it. You do it over again. If you really want to learn like how I actually paint eyes, is I go in with a dot of black in the center, and I clean it up with white on either side, and then I go in my skin tone, because I've never gotten this exactly right, by the way. I go in with it, with whatever flesh tone was around, and I clean it up that way. And you can typically do that with your highlight color that you were doing the flesh, and then it all looks uniform. And then if you really mess it up, whatever wash you used to go on the face, if you get it really thin, you can go in and it'll hide a lot of sins that you did with the eyes.
This guy gets it. That's what I do. All of that, except for Psychers. Psychers I always do like just white with a glaze, blue or red glaze on the corners, and it just makes it look like he's got like the crackle of power. That's my go-to. But yeah, normally it's the black dot and then clean up the outsides.
That's our segment. We've run it down. We've actually been over time. We ran down the rapid fire segment. I see what y'all did to me in that last one. Like, but the chat has been absolutely explosive. We really appreciate everyone coming in and spending that time with us, watching us live. If you are watching us not live, please leave some comments on whatever you're finding this. Please subscribe, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Leave us some 5-star reviews in iTunes or whatever they do in Spotify. I think we're everywhere the Frontline Gaming Network distribution stuff is. So if you leave these 5-star reviews, leave some comments. That's a way that you can engage with the show, and it helps the algorithms fire off and help other people find us while we're doing this. And, we couldn't do it without you guys.
You're beautiful. All of you, except the Nightbringer guy. Get yourself together.
Well, Pete, thank you for joining us this episode. I hope that you come back and do some more with us. Adam, as always, is a pleasure to do this with you.
Absolutely, man.
You actually put together, I did do some credits. So you actually help write the show notes in the back to keep us on track, are produced by Rich in the booth. Yes, we have a booth. I don't know why I'm pointing anywhere. It's not like it's a virtual booth. But sorry. And Adam, I think you were going to plug something you're doing this weekend.
Yeah. The LSO is open this weekend. We've got Men on the Ground, Richard and Val being our producers. We're going to have 3 days of coverage of all the tables of this event. Rolling coverage starting from, I think it's 9 or 10 a.m. Dallas time, whichever that may be. That's 1 a.m. for me. And you'll see me live there from 1 a.m. And I believe this morning it's going to be me and Pete doing day 1. And then it's going to be me and I think Dustin Henshaw for day 2. And then me and the scarred one, Scary, doing day 3. So please tune in on FLG. On this YouTube, over on Twitch, wherever you may find us, watch us back, give us love, give us likes. We're going to be putting all these gentlemen through their paces verbally and trying to give all the goodness to you guys at home so you guys can join in, feel part of the community, especially if you may be somewhere in the world who may be locked down, not able to enjoy 40K yourself, wherever you may be.
That's going to be some awesome coverage. Tune in for it. Thanks for joining us. We will see y'all next week, next Thursday. Hit that bell. We're going to be live again, normal time.
See you then, guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya.